everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike Vance, and today we're going to be taking a look at Amp Tweaker's Big Rock Pro 2. Okay, so there's a lot of features to cover in this pedal. So what I'm going to do is just kind of verbally go through and explain some of it, and then obviously play some sounds for you. It's going to be a lengthy description just because there's a lot of stuff to cover. So let's get started. So you have your bypass, which is all of this right here. This controls all of your EQ, your drive volume, so you master, presence, all that stuff. You have your mid boost switch. You have a switch to give yourself a plexi sound, and then you've got the smooth switch, which essentially moves it to a much warmer sound. There is a noise gate on here, which is really helpful, especially when you get up to the crazy high gain drive section. And then there's a defizz knob, so you can like turn that up, and it just essentially smooths out your distortion. And then over here you have your boost switch, and you've got a boost gain and then a boost volume. And here's where you start getting into the fun features. So it now has an XLR balanced out, which is really cool. It's got a cab sim on all the time. So in this demo, I'm actually going to be running it direct through the XLR, so you guys can get kind of a good idea of what it sounds like direct. I'm not going to be adding any EQ to it afterwards. I might add just a tad bit of reverb just because I feel naked playing without reverb, but we'll get into that later. And then of course you have standard ins and outs on it. On the cab sim part, you can actually, it's got a three-way switch for slightly different sounds. On your boost knob, or your boost switch here, that section, you have a fat control switch there, so it can be fat or normal. Same with the normal section, it's got a fat switch, and then you have a ground lift, and you actually have a headphone output right here too. So again, lots of stuff going on there. On the back, so there are 6 ins and outs right here. These are effects loops because James, you guys are, I'm sure, very familiar. If you're watching this, you know who James Brown is, who is the designer of these. James loves effects loops. So you actually have this thing, if you look here on the front, and I'll show you a closer view as I'm talking, there's a thing called, that's labeled ST. This stands for sidetrack. Sidetrack, there's a sidetrack loop here. So when you turn the pedal off, if it's in the off position, this will actually send a signal through here. It's a send in return. I haven't decided what to use the return for yet, but the send you could essentially use as an amp send. So you could have, if you wanted to use this direct, you could use this as like your secondary amplifier, which works wonderfully, by the way. I've done it already live, and it sounds great. And then when you turn this off, when you bypass this pedal, it will immediately send to the sidetrack, which you could also use to send and bypass this straight to another amplifier. So you could essentially use it as an amp switcher, which is really cool. You have a global send and return, which is as basic as it gets. It's a global effects loop for the entire section, everything on the pedal. And then you have just a boost send and return, which only affects your boost side. So anyway, now that I've explained all of that, long-winded, we're just going to show you some sounds now. So let's get into it.